What about, I mean, neither one of y'all have ever, I mean, I know Kenny has, but what do y'all think on a deep level about, like, the relationship between the illegality of peyote and mushrooms and cannabis and natural psychedelic quote-unquote medicines and the patented Tylenols, Xanax,
Oh, you're
Adderalls
going there.
of the world.
Yeah.
You
I
already,
mean, I mean,
that is crap.
It wasn't one of my first opinions either.
That is crap. That's in Walgreens and Rite Aid and all that. That's crap.
I mean, it's one of the things that I've definitely been more focused on recently, and even with this podcast, is like, you know, I don't. Conspiracy is a word that is tainted.
Yeah.
And I don't like to go into the whole Illuminati and a lot of the stuff that, you know, James is on here, I'm willing to talk about, right? But that's not my... If there's two conspiracies that are basically the same conspiracy, they're related, and they're also tied to all of the other ones that James likes to talk about, but the two main ones that I do like to talk about are Big Pharma, because...
What's the conspiracy theory? Everything's legit about...
Well, right, I mean, everything's
shit
proven.
with that.
It's the more conspiracy facts, right? There's Big Pharma and their relationship to the drug war, which is basically, it's all about fear. It's keeping us locked in a state of fear, and, you know, even when we are able to access the drugs that allow us to love ourselves, okay, well, then it's illegal, so we have to, like, be paranoid about getting caught, you know what I mean? That's changing, fortunately.
First of all natural plants, even the cocaine plant has a medicinal.
Yeah,
as
but
a
I mean,
medicinal,
but once it becomes a powder that you put up your nose.
No, but I'm talking about.
I'm
talking about.
They cut it with a lot of other chemicals.
I'm talking about like when you go to the Amazon, you have certain.
They chew on the leaves.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
No,
You know,
I'm down with
like
that.
it's tobacco to them.
Yeah.
They have big wads of it, so that's what I mean. Like that. I mean, in its natural state. I'm not talking about broken down and cocaine. But
I mean, that's what I'm getting at, though.
Is
there's a conspiracy to keep true medicines repressed in order to continue making profits off of things that don't actually heal you, that treat ailments, but they don't actually get at the root causes.
Well, that's an interesting question because, you know, first of all, before there was Big Pharma, you know, there were holistic and herbal medicine everywhere. That's what
doctors were back then.
Yeah. Okay. They knew what plants to use, with berries, with mushrooms, all that. So.
And the other conspiracy related to, I consider the drug war / Big Pharma really the same one because it's all about drugs.
Yeah.
And the other one is, and like the reason I say they're so related is because food and drugs are really the same thing. It's all about what you consume.
Food can be a drug.
The other
well, some people will
it's the food industry. The food industry is.
Well, some people will call Big Pharma witchcraft.
It is. That's exactly what it is. But to relate that to the food industry, right? The other big conspiracy in this world is, why do you think? And I talked about this with LT at the very end. Is like, why do you think? For a long time, the story was humanity started 10,000 years ago with the fall of humanity, Adam and Eve, blah, blah, blah. And then archaeology started pushing the stuff back. But instead of rewriting history, what'd they do? They said, that's prehistory. Because they don't live the way we live. So they call it prehistory as a way of...
Prehistoric.
The connotation is, it's not important. It's cash.
Oh.
So, anyhow, my point is, the whole conspiracy there is food, really, because hunters and gatherers, they don't work for their food. The food that they eat is killed fresh or picked fresh, or they might grow a little bit. They might have sustainable agriculture, but they don't have what one of my favorite writers, Daniel Quinn, calls totalitarian agriculture, which is what our one culture. He doesn't see a difference really between the East and the West. Any culture that locks up their food and makes homeless people starve rather than giving expiring food to them. That's a culture that's more like a mental institution. Right? The way we treat our homeless is kind of like private prisons. That's another epitome of the degradation of our culture. How are we throwing away all this food from grocery stores and restaurants every day? All they have to do is sign a waiver.
But gee,
supposedly the excuse is they can get food poisoning and sue us. Okay, just make them sign a waiver. You don't think homeless people would be willing to sign a waiver to eat free food?
If we really knew the limitations of what they allow in our food, first of all, we wouldn't want to touch it.
You guys worked at I volunteered at a food bank, and it's like I get what you guys are saying, but I was there, putting packages and stuff together.
But that's a food bank, bro. I'm talking about.
But what I'm saying, hold on.
That is thrown away at restaurants.
But I'm saying it's available. You got to take the initiative too, though. Can't say, "Oh, I can't eat." You know what I'm saying? The food bank is not going to turn you down, and there's plenty of resources there.
But then you're forcing the homeless people into a system that they don't want to be a part of. Because in order to get the food from the food bank, you got to go jump through hoops. Why make them jump through hoops?
Well, how many of the homeless are actually? I wonder what the percentage
why do they even need an ID card? Real talk. Why can't we feed people? There's a reason why we can't.
Because they've made laws that say that you can.
Because they're not working.
A lot of people don't realize too that there's laws in place that, if you check in some states, people don't know it, but there's laws where you can't give it. Like if you grow something in your garden,
but why
you can't give it away to somebody?
Why would that be a law?
It's death by design.
It's they want you to work for your food. They don't want tribes that know how to identify. They don't want people to have plant knowledge. They don't want people to know how to hunt. They don't want you to be able to get food from the earth. That's the Garden of Eden metaphor, in my opinion. We were kicked out of the Garden of Eden because we started to say, we're going to grow all of our own food. We're not going to live in the hands of the gods anymore. We're not going to live based on what animal crosses our tracks. We're not going to live based on what food is growing in the area. We're going to just grow all of our own food, take over the whole world, and anything that doesn't directly benefit our
Indian tobacco.
Anything that doesn't directly benefit our food chain, our food intake, anything that doesn't directly benefit, cows because we eat cows, or corn, or whatever, any weed or plant or anything that didn't benefit humans directly, we killed, and so that actually hurt the biodiversity of the earth, and now we've created a much more fragile ecosystem because of this. And I really believe, I don't think that our culture sees it this way, but I really believe indigenous people are the most important endangered species because of the knowledge that they have of the way plants interact with the human central nervous system, their knowledge of psychoactive plants, not only psychoactive plants, but what mushrooms can they pick and eat, what berries can they pick and actually eat, and what berries are poisonous, and what plants are poisonous, and what plants are edible, and what, what poison do they put at the end of the dart that can take down a big game, These survival knowledge is the opposite of what our educational system teaches. It's actually preventing. They're distracting us from learning.
But do you think that sometimes it was a bunch of free thinkers like us as well, sitting around that held high seats in society, that was doing what we're thinking about, and they probably, I'm not saying they did this, but I think some things that were done, they really thought that they were helping or improving the way of life.
I totally believe that at some point along the way,
not all of them, but some of them,
we really, as a collective, we started believing that civilization was the best way to live.
Exactly.
But I think it's time to start questioning that, especially when you consider, both of you guys know I'm not the most liberal person in the world.
I don't think either of us are either, though.
Right, of course. I know. But I'm saying, the biggest issue that keeps me the biggest reason I still call myself a liberal is the environment. I think it's one
that's not in their forefront anymore. Really, that was like an Al Gore thing. That's not really been somebody's forefront.
I'm not talking about even politics at this point.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about people in general in our culture. Like, we really need to stop destroying our planet. It's trying to tell us some shit, and we're not listening. And one of my most, I would say, I can't think of the word right now. One of the beliefs of mine that goes against mainstream is that the Earth is alive.
Absolutely, it is.
We are like cells. Cells in our body, they're living beings on their own. If you think about it, like they are, every cell in our body. Like, we think of ourselves as one thing, but every cell in our body is a living thing. And
absolutely.
if you think it's kind of like the Matrix, really. Like, we're cells to the Earth. The Earth is a cell to the solar system.
Like you say, if you're going,
the solar system is
based
a cell
on
to the galaxy.
Because, like, based on Christian beliefs, God made man from the earth.
The Earth is alive. And we are suffocating Earth with all of the pollution and I don't, the whole carbon thing. I think that's another distraction. I think actual particulate matter that we put in the air is actually a bigger deal. But I'm honestly, that's one subject I need to look more into and learn a little bit more about. I'm far from an environmental expert, but my intuition and just the fires that are going on, whether they're man-made or not, whether there's conspiracy behind it.
What did you say, 1,000,000 acres or something like that?
So there's a lot of these far-out conspiracy theorists that talk about the directed energy weapons, and they may be real, they may not be real. Regardless, something's going on where the environment's trying to tell us something, in my opinion.
We have abused the earth. For far, far, far too long.
And I feel like that started when we started killing any tribe that didn't live like us. Any hunter-gatherers, any tribe that wasn't growing all of their own food.
But we're saying this though, but all of us have gas-powered cars, and it's like we're
convenience.
Yeah. So you can't say we're the biggest green people, you know what I mean? It's just like...
It's because it's the same way unless you're Amish, you riding around with a horse right now?
Right.
I'm just saying. I'm not saying nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying people not, again, civilization is like...
No. On a personal level, I create way more pollution than most people in the world, just by the fact that I'm an American.
Exactly.
But the reason I'm talking about this is I don't think me sorting my plastics and paper and stuff, it's going to make a little difference, but I think we need more big scale changes. Like
your body is your temple, right? And so if we as human beings are connected to the earth, you got to treat the earth as your temple as well. And I think that when human beings disconnected themselves as being part of the earth, then that's when we started destroying it and not respecting it.
Treating it as a resource.
Instead
of our mother.
Of your temple, your place where you're derived from. You know what I mean? Because
there's a give and take there.
A place that provides air and water.
Yeah, that's the give part. We're taking more than what's given.
Well, some people say, I seen a meme where it said everybody think we raise the trees and the plants, but it's really the plants and the trees that's raising us for their decomposed. So us to return back to the earth.
Exactly.
Because even in the Bible it say, from the earth you come, and to the earth you shall return.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Ashes to ashes, dust to dust.
Yep.
So with that said, the earth is
I'm sorry to cut you off because I don't know where you're going with this, but to connect it to
Yeah.
what we're talking, so to bring it to a big.
I don't
picture
mind.
level,
Go ahead.
What do you guys think of what I was saying as far as I think the two conspiracies that I think we really need to start looking at, and I don't even like the word conspiracies. I think the two industries that we really need to start paying more attention to is food and drugs.
Well, let me tell you something. What is it said? America
That's
is
health.
2 meals away from anarchy,
And an environment is health too,
right?
I've seen some shit like that.
They say
recently.
America's like 2 meals away from anarchy, right?
right?
So I mean, at any time, basically at any time, we could, this thing could pop off.
Yeah.
But certainly, because these are okay. Let's do food. You can't live without substance. You can't, and
Right, but what do you think about the fact that they've set up our entire global society, not just America, not
Mhm.
just Europe, our entire, pretty much unless you're a part of, a tribe that lives in the remote part of Africa or in the Arctic with the Eskimos or some
They
place
burning
that
it,
our
they-
culture decided we didn't want to live,
yeah,
unless you're a part of one of these tribes, you're pretty much working for your meals,
you are.
right?
There's no denying about that.
But why
If-
are we doing that when the earth provides everything we need?
Because you've been brainwashed.
Okay, so you're basically in agreement with me then.
Yes.